Thank you. Welcome. I will just read out the formal items for the commencement of the meeting. Action in the event of emergency. There are no practice alarms planned for this evening, but if the alarm sounds, please evacuate the town hall by going down the main staircase or the back staircase to the High Street and then to the car park behind the town hall in St Ruddle Street. The council audio records all its public meetings and these recordings are published on the council's website. Toilets are available on this floor as well as on the ground and second floors of the town hall. Discreet use of mobile phones and other devices is welcome, but you are requested to set them to silent and not to use voice or camera flash functions. Speakers are reminded to use the microphones at all times. And an introduction now to the work of the Cabinet. Before I ask the members of Cabinet to introduce themselves, I will explain that the Cabinet is the main executive body of the Council, is responsible for the day-to-day decision-making of the Council's services and also makes recommendations to the full Council on major policy issues and on the Council's budget. The Cabinet is made up of 8 councillors, each is responsible for a particular range of services. One of them, Councillor Annie Feltham, is on leave at the current moment. I'm Councillor Paul Smith, and I am the leader of the Council. I'll now ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, starting with Councillor Frame.
Councillor Bill Frame, I'm responsible for economic growth and planning.
Councillor Mark Corey, representing Wivenhoe Crossward and responsible for the resources portfolio.
Councillor Dominic Graham, I'm responsible for street and waste services.
Good evening, Councillor Beverley Oxford, portfolio holder for customers.
Hello, Tina Bourne, housing and public protection portfolio holder.
Good evening, Councillor Tim Young. I'm deputy to the leader of the council and portfolio holder for community safety, licensing and culture.
Richard Clifford, Democratic Services Officer. Andrew Weavers, Monitoring Officer.
Adrian Pritchard, Chief Executive.
Thank you very much. Urgent items. Mr Clifford, I believe we have a couple today.
Thank you, Chair. We have an item on the establishment of a friendly relationship with Jiangsu province, Chairman.
Thank you. I will propose to take that item after item 7.1, the economic growth strategy. Moving on to the declarations of interests. Councillors, if you have any declarations of interest, can you please make them at the appropriate time? Item 4 is have your say, general speakers. I have 4 people who wish to speak at the moment. Councillor Ben Locker, Andy Hamilton, Councillor Dennis Willits and Councillor Rosalind Scott. Is there anyone else? No. Thank you. In that case, can I ask Councillor Ben Locker, please? Thank you. I remind you, you have 3 minutes. You'll hear the bell after 2. I'm sure you know the rules.
Good evening, Cabinet. I'd like to make a few points about the market and the street traders. Very recently, I filled in a consultation on the future of the market and the street traders, which I thought was very poor. It was an online questionnaire, full of closed questions, very badly designed. And without going into great detail, I decided to look into the company that designed it. The company is a company called Quarterbridge, and I discovered that they have a background in this kind of work. They have done consultations on changes of what has now become the Market Walk development in Woking, and has been involved in a similar situation regarding the Queen's Market in Seven Sisters in London. What I found very interesting, however, was that 3 of the directors of Quarterbridge are also directors of what is now called the Woking Market Company Limited, which now manages Woking Market. I also discovered that 2 of the directors have set up a company called Market Asset Management Seven Sisters Limited. So it seems to me that Quarterbridge has a track record of doing consultations, and in at least one case, and potentially in the future 2, subsequently being given a contract to manage the market that they have run the consultations on. So I think really the questions I would like to ask are, 1, how were Quarterbridge appointed? 2, what due diligence was done into their appointment? And 3, can the Cabinet assure me that Quarterbridge's directors, whether officially or unofficially, have not been given any indication that they may bid for Colchester Market's management?
Thank you very much. If you'd like to resume your seat, Councillor Young, do you wish to respond at this point?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Locker made some interesting points. It would have been good to have had those emailed to us in advance of the meeting, but I'm sure they have been taken down and we can look at the situation. I inherited the responsibility for the market in May. So I'm having a portfolio holder briefing tomorrow in which the market's on the agenda, and I will certainly raise some of those issues there. The Chief Executive might have some more of the history about how Quarterbridge was appointed, but we do all our appointments of such consultants in an open and competitive way, and so they would have been the best people to get the contract. They certainly, if I have anything to do with it in discussion with Cabinet colleagues, will not be taking an active interest in running the market. That's not what we have asked them to do. The review and the consultation of which Councillor Locker took part, I will look at the results of those and share the responses with Cabinet colleagues, and we will come to a collective view. The market is brought back to the high street. It will remain there. We're going to make a success of it, and I will look at the views of market traders and street traders and make sure they're treated fairly and responsibly. But I don't know if the Chief Executive does want to say anything about the appointment of Quarterbridge at this stage.
Thank you. He has indicated that he will, yes.
Chairman, only in terms of procedural point, that is that we went through the normal procurement process. We did do our due diligence on Quarterbridge. They are one of the top companies to look at markets. They do a range of consultancy work across Europe. I remember certainly looking into that, and we're very happy to share that tender process as far as we can in terms of that transparency. As far as the officers are concerned, I can guarantee that no single officer has ever said to Quarterbridge that we want to have a conversation with them about running a market. That's from the officer point of view. The members must speak for themselves.
Thank you. I'll now ask Mr. Andy Hamilton. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. I'm sure you know the rules. You have 3 minutes and you'll hear the bell after 2.
The First Sight representatives made their sole visit to the Colchester Council in the scrutiny panel meeting 2 weeks ago. Yet again, the public are ignored as the Council continues to pour our money into the structurally deficient money pit. It was spelled out before the VAF was built why it would fail. For 3 years, you have refused to face the facts and ensured Colchester Council has lost all public respect. The public revile it, the staff oppose it, yet you still refuse to discuss the cultural quarter disaster you forced on us. Indeed, the moral failure to act in the public interest is further shown by you permitting the notorious Lexton sex club known as Mingles to open and stay open. You were repeatedly told over the past year of the breaches of planning requirements. I have stood outside this sordid venue in a silent protest and suffered verbal abuse and physical intimidation. So far, I have been physically assaulted 4 times, and the police admit they cannot protect me from these thugs. The police have attended regularly and have done all they can. You knew all the facts, yet still gave this disreputable establishment permanent planning approval. I no longer report the planning breaches or assaults to you as you ignored me and denied any responsibility. Due to the risk of physical injury, I have discouraged others from joining the protest. However, every Friday and Saturday night, thousands of motorists see my protest boards. Those who stop to talk ask me, how the sex club could have got permission to start, and how could it be allowed to continue operating? Your support for the sex trade disgusts me.
Councillor Young, on the first site.
Yes, I think
Thank you,
Councillor
Ms Hamilton. If you'd like to resume your seat, please.
Councillor Frame will have to deal with the second issue, because I think it's a planning rather than a licensing issue, as you know. I think Mr Hamilton is now swimming against the tide on First Sight. I think there's a lot of goodwill around First Sight. We saw that at the scrutiny panel, where I think all members of the panel and the public that are speaking to me on a regular basis about it are wishing it well under the new stewardship of Anthony Roberts and the new chair, Norzaman Rashid. They want to give it a chance. They want to make it something that Colchester can be proud of. I think we're seeing change at First Sight. We ought to be backing that change. You will have seen reported in the local press that we are reducing our grants to all three grants organisations. We've done that in a constructive way, in negotiation with them, and they can see that we're under financial pressure, but we still want to support those arts organisations because they do bring not only cultural life and vibrancy to the town, but economic improvements as well. So we will continue to work with the Mercury Theatre, Colchester Arts Centre and First Sight. Are all national portfolio organisations. They're all organisations that, two, we can be very proud of already, and one is working towards the changes it needs to make it part of the fixture, to make Colchester not only the cultural capital of Essex, which it already is, but of the region. And if we can all get behind it, I'm sure it will be a great success in the future. So I would hope Mr Hamilton will join with others who are starting to change their mind about First Sight, so we can make it part of what makes Colchester tick.
Thank you very much, Councillor Young. Councillor Frame on the second part.
First thing to say, I think, is that the council is not the keeper of moralities as far as planning and licensing is concerned. Providing an organisation does comply with their licence or the planning conditions that have been put, then they will get the correct approval for the work they do. If there are breaches of planning, and it may be breaches of the licensing committee, I'm not sure which Mr Hamilton's referring to, but I shall ask the officers to have a look and see if there are any instances where they are outside either their licence or their planning conditions, and I'll report back to Mr Hamilton on that one.
Thank you very much. The next speaker I have is Councillor Willits. Good evening, Councillor Willits. You know the rules, I'm sure. 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Bell after 2.
Good evening, Cabinet. Can I remind you that the government is encouraging large towns and small cities to tap into the opportunity of the second round of enterprise zones to enjoy the many benefits which enterprise zones can bring in terms of delivery of growth and job creation. Now, I would suggest that job creation is something that is needed in Colchester. We've had mega housing growth, and when we come on later on to look at the economic strategy, the rate of creation of jobs lags very much behind the rate at which houses are being built in the borough. Businesses basing themselves in an enterprise zone gain access to a number of benefits, as I'm sure you're aware, Leader. Up to 100% business rate discount worth up to £250,000 per business over 5 years, 100% enhanced capital allowances, tax relief for businesses making large investments, and 100% retention of business rate growth for the LEP to enable it to fund developments in enterprise zones. So there really are a series of luscious tax breaks for businesses which have the fortune to establish themselves in an enterprise zone, which of course at the moment Colchester doesn't have. I would suggest, Cabinet, that there is an obvious area in Colchester for an enterprise zone, and that's the eastern segment of the town, which has the knowledge gateway at the university and an amazing array of small businesses down at the Hythe. You will all know that the Knowledge Gateway is set to be one of the sort of the country's premier areas for knowledge engineering, science, technology, and the creative sector, because we've considered that on many occasions. And likewise, the Hythe is a really prosperous area with £13 million of regeneration programme and a lot going on there. So I would commend to the Cabinet the advantages of wrapping the organisations, the business organisations in the eastern quadrant of the town into an enterprise zone. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that the deadline for bids for new enterprise zones closes on the 18th of September. So I would suggest that Cabinet should now really start working in earnest. It's only got a couple of weeks or so to do what I'm sure many business people in Colchester would welcome, and that is the creation of our own enterprise zone by producing a decent proposal which can go to SLEP and hopefully will be endorsed by government. I don't know, I haven't seen it on any agenda whether you're already doing that, but I would commend the need for an enterprise zone forthwith. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Frame, do you wish to respond at this point? Or I notice we do have the item on the economic growth strategy coming up.
Yeah. I will just quickly say that I was at a meeting this afternoon with colleagues from other districts and Essex County Council discussing various matters on growth, and the issue of enterprise zones did actually come up. However, I need to take advice on the university, because I've got a feeling that they are looking at things in a slightly different way to what you've been referring to. So I'll come back to you in writing on that one, but we have looked at it. I don't think it's going to work at the moment, but I appreciate your enthusiasm for doing that.
Much obliged.
Thank you very much, Councillor Frame. I do, of course, note that one of the largest firms that moved into Colchester recently, Sea Trucks, moved from an assisted area into Colchester, showing that just tax breaks is not just the only thing that businesses look for around here. Councillor Rosalind Scott, please. As I'm sure you've already learnt from this evening, if you didn't already know, you have 3 minutes. The bell will go after 2, and I would very much appreciate it if once the second bell goes, you do bring your remarks to a conclusion, should you still be talking. Thank you.
Thank you. I call upon Cabinet to take a lead in considering how we in Colchester can respond to the plight of refugees fleeing war and persecution in the Middle East. The discussion of our values, sympathies and responsibilities will take time, and if we are to make our contribution, perhaps taking a number of families in, we need to talk to residents, access resources and use the asylum infrastructure which Britain already has in place. We have a long history in Britain of taking our responsibility and listening to our hearts in offering asylum. As former Foreign Secretary David Miliband reminded us this week, Britain was at the forefront of writing the conventions and writing the protocols that established legal rights for refugees. The government has taken in 200 Syrian refugees and is sending funding to refugee camps and is working for promoting peace. But this takes time and it doesn't prevent death and suffering along the way. Many people here feel that it's not enough. Many people in Colchester want to do more. I would urge Cabinet to find ways to strengthen and support this response. As Yvette Cooper said today in the Arts Centre, the best of us ran transport of refugees in the past, for instance, during kinder transport. At the moment, it's the worst of us who are profiteering from horror. Local groups are already making runs to refugee camps with essential supplies. What more can we do? How can our council help? Can Colchester take in 10 families? Can we urge our network of local councils to coordinate a response across the country? Can we start the ball rolling? Can we act now? Surely we cannot possibly even countenance passing by on the other side.
Thank you very much, Councillor Scott, for those comments there. I'm sure many of us know examples in our own wards. I know, for example, my own church in St John's has arranged for transport of goods and supplies to the refugees down in Calais. I know many other areas have done as well. I think you make your case very eloquently, and I'm sure it's something which all the Cabinet will be keeping firmly in their minds. We recognise as a town, in the past, we've had a long history of supporting immigrant communities. The weavers who came in Colchester, who based our prosperity in the 17th century, originally settled in another town nearby. They left because of persecution. They moved to Colchester, and Colchester prospered as a result of that. So I think the points you make are very well made. Thank you very much for making them. I will now move on to item 5, the minutes of the previous meeting. Can I ask you, Cabinet colleagues, to confirm they are the correct record of the meeting of the 8th of July? Thank you. There are no items to reconsider as part of the calling procedure. I now move on to item 7.1, the economic growth strategy, and after this we will take the emergency item. This involves a presentation that's been made by the Head of Commercial Services. Thank you. Yep. Do you want to introduce now? Yep. I have Councillor Jarvis to speak as well. Would it be better that he speaks after the presentation, or would you like him to speak at the start?
I think it's better first, and then we may...
As you wish. Councillor Jarvis, please. I'm sure you know the rules. 3 minutes, bell after 2.
Thank you, Leader, and good evening, Cabinet. I would like to speak regarding the economic growth strategy, and particularly to focus in on the lack of progress of the two main projects for the development of the town centre, Vineyard Gate and St Botolph's. I know I've raised similar questions in the past, both at full council and Cabinet, and I will continue to raise it because, quite frankly, I don't think I'm getting satisfactory answers. I do maintain regular contact with officers to keep up to date with any progress, but quite naturally they are cautious in the information that they can give me. I have asked for a meeting with the portfolio holder, and that is being arranged. It would have happened sooner, but there were some communication problems. From my own inquiries, it would seem that Vineyard Gate project is close to being moribund due to a lack of interest from suitable retail names that would perform the anchor role and ensure the success of the development. With regard to the St Botolph's project, the rumour, and I only say it is only rumour, that the Curzon Cinema is not going ahead. And if this is true, where does that leave the plans for the Creative Business Centre and the Wonder House? Is it not time to make a statement about the current situation and why, in the absence of any tangible progress over the past 18 months, you have no plan B to revitalise the town centre? People's expectations were raised when these projects were first announced. Surely it is now time for a little honesty and clarity as to these two important drivers to the town's future prosperity. Without the success of these projects, your economic growth strategy for 2015-21 in terms of job creation and business investments will be unobtainable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Frame.
Thanks very much. As Councillor Jarvis has indicated, he has asked for previously about Vineyard Gate, and I'm seeing him next week to talk to him about not just that, but all the situation regarding economic growth in Colchester. He's mentioned the Curzon Cinema. I'm definitely not aware that it is off. Curzon were quoted about 3 weeks ago saying it was imminent, and I believe there are just a couple of issues, small issues, that need sorting out, and it will be delivered. As far as the future of the town is concerned, we had an exhibition next door which gave an indication of the amount of money that was being poured into Colchester town centre and the way in which it was being developed, both in retail and business and for residents. So I think there's an air of expectancy about the way Colchester is moving now. Millions of, Williams and Griffin's £30 million, the George Hotel being revamped. There's a huge amount of money being poured into Colchester, and I don't think retailers would do that unless they felt there was a good future for Colchester, both on retail and on business. So all the signs I'm getting are that we are doing well in that respect, and I hope that will certainly, I'm encouraged to think that that is going to continue into the future. But the other issues we may cover when we talk about the economic growth strategy, which we'll do in a second in terms of jobs and apprenticeships. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Mr. Mayers.
Okay. Thank you very much. Nigel Myers, I'm the Economic Development Manager for Colchester Borough Council, and just by way of setting the scene, I just wanted to run through a fairly high-level overview of what's been happening in the Colchester economy in the last 5 years, in the period of the economic development strategy. Back into 2012, our partner Haven Gateway Partnership commissioned a survey, a report, where it compared the 56 cities in England in terms of economic performance, and it looked at things like gross value added, population growth, number of private sector jobs created, number of JSA claimants, and it basically ranked cities. And we for the purpose of the exercise, it assumed that Colchester was a city, and we were in the top tier of cities. We call a buoyant city, and we ranked alongside places like Reading, Cambridge, Bristol and Canterbury. Canterbury are actually almost our sort of twin brother in economic and social sort of measures. Over that period, we saw the number of people who are economically active in jobs, part-time and full-time, rise by 15%. And another measure of economic success is the number of people who are self-employed, and that rose actually by 25% to 13,000. Standard measure of the success of the economy, the gross value added, which is basically the sort of estimate of the total of the goods and services produced in an area, has been rising steadily year on year and currently stands at almost £3.5 billion. In that period, we saw some very significant growth in creative industries, which I'm sure you all know is not just about sort of artists and the like, but it's a much broader category and includes sort of web design, architecture, and a number of sort of very high educational sort of industries and companies, professional services, healthcare, tourism, and hospitality. All of those have seen significant growth in business creation and job numbers. And business confidence, although, this is sort of, particularly at the early part of the strategy was still sort of in sort of austerity and recession times, has remained pretty strong as measured by turnover, consumer spend and natural investment coming in, and particularly in the latter part in 2014. Just by way of sort of link really with the next bit is the success of an economy. The council has a role to play. It's by no means it is a sort of supporting role, but I wanted to sort of really highlight some of the things that we are actually actively involved in terms of the economy. And in terms of the economic development team, we've actively, directly assisted over 1,100 businesses, and these are quite substantive interventions, if you like, to help these businesses. Some of them, I have to say, rather sadly, a small number but businesses that are actually in quite serious problems, having serious decline, and some unfortunately have gone out of business. But the majority have been around business growth and helping people, businesses access all sorts of things to do with marketing, accountancy, cash flow control, HR issues, basically sort of helping them really signpost them to where they can find the best solutions. And some of them have actually been relocations into the area. We've actually, not just Sea Trucks, but we have a company called Bowens that we actually, I hope there's nobody here from tendering, but we did get them back over the border into Colchester in Severals Business Park. 2 years ago, we started the Colchester Enterprise Hub. This is a very good addition to what we already do in terms of a traditional incubation space. But this is an initiative we've worked on with the Eastern Enterprise Hub to fast track really potential entrepreneurs to help them start up and create new businesses. And so far, we've helped over 100 new entrepreneurs to start on that journey. Colchester Business Enterprise Agency. Colby, as it's called. We have 2 sites, one up at North Colchester and one in Central Colchester. And over the period of the strategy, they were in the. I don't remember me saying, but they were in the red halfway through. But we've managed to work with them, and they're now very firmly in the black. And I suppose the acid test of any incubation space is they're currently operating at 100% occupancy, which is always a good thing. We continue to work very collaboratively with local businesses on a whole range of things to do with the town centre as well as other aspects. And I think one of our successes, has been the Colchester Christmas Group. I think back in 2010, the Christmas at Colchester was quite a difficult kind of act to pull off in terms of the Christmas lights and all the supporting acts. But now it's a really well-functioning group that really does buy into the idea of Christmas and increase any activities that increase footfall into the town. Also, in terms of investment and funding, we were talking about investment coming in. We've secured a number of very interesting initiatives. One of which is business broadband. We're the only council in the whole of the South East to get funding from the CELEP to develop superfast broadband in business parks, and that work is about to commence with actually a Colchester company who was fortunate enough to win the tender. And something I'm personally quite excited about is up at the university, we've secured funding from Essex County Council to start the new games hub. This is a computer games facility where we're taking graduates and postgraduates from the computer games courses at the university, and they're working with a very amusingly named company called Shark Infested Custard to actually develop these applications and these great ideas into fully functioning businesses. And early days, but 6 months in, and there's already been 2 firm businesses actually created from that. So that really just by way of context in terms of the Colchester economy, because in the new growth strategy, I do talk about the Colchester economy being a very buoyant and resilient economy, and that's really the result, I guess, if you like, of the last 5 years leading into the next 5 years, where there's some very good news. I think again, another independent survey identified Colchester as being 51st in the country in terms of a local authority for its growth, for its high growth. So we're growing our population, we're growing, our businesses are growing. Some very positive things happening on that front. Now, I'm being all positive here. Now, I'm not in any way pretending that there are not some issues we need to address, and I think we need to continue to address. Perhaps, certainly one of the things, and I think hopefully this comes out in the strategy, is the whole agenda around skills and employability, because Colchester still, I'm afraid to say, in terms of its proportion of higher educated NVQ 4 and 5, is still below, I think, where we should be. It's still below the average for the east of England, and in saying that, I'm conscious that we've got the University of Essex on our doorstep. 4,000 graduates leave Essex University every year. 500 of those, about 13%, actually stay in Colchester, and I think we can do better in terms of retaining the talent, and we'd like to work with the university to do that. Just by way of comparison, the UEA up at Norwich, that figure's about half. It's about 50% of the people actually stay in the locality, and I do believe that has a major impact on that local economy. So in terms of the growth strategy, and I'm always use this sort of caveat whoever I'm talking to, is it isn't just about us, it isn't just about the council. We certainly have a role to play, but we can only do this with our partners, our public sector partners, and particularly our private sector partners. We've really focused on 5 priorities. First, as you probably would expect me to say, this is around creating jobs. The second priority is about employability and skills. Certainly increasing the number of apprentices. I think we are relatively behind the curve in terms of the numbers of businesses and work placements that are taking on apprentices, and this is despite the fact that there is some, relatively attractive financial and business incentives to do so. So I think we need to work harder to get that message out. Third one is something I think we do particularly well, and that's about creating and retaining businesses within Colchester, not just with Colbeer, but with our enterprise hub and with our own activities. Fourth one is around infrastructure, and I very deliberately sort of subdivide these into what I call hard infrastructure, which is things like road and rail, and broadband increasingly is becoming, if you like, the fourth utility. Certainly a conversation that Councillor Frame and I were having at County Council today, looking at the improvements to the A120 and the widening of the A12, in themselves will be quite significant in terms of future job creation and business creation. And last but not least is the whole area around creating more inward investment and funding into the area. And we've certainly had success at that, but it's something we will continue to work on in the new strategy. So again, the new strategy I think is about really focusing on where I think we're going to get the best returns. And we've sort of looked at all of the employment sectors and, taking a view that, we really ought to be focusing the majority of our, well, not the majority, but some serious attention on some of our priority sectors. Those priority sectors are particularly, as you would expect, are around the creative industries. They're around sort of healthcare and assisted living, and I think this is going to be a absolutely key sector going forward. I mean, already the figures from the Institute of Policy Research are saying that there's going to be 2 million new jobs created in this sector by 2021, and we already know that ourselves and tendering actually are going to see some significant increases in those jobs, but clearly there needs to be some sort of infrastructure to support that. We've also got a number of sectors that we call core sectors. These are, if you like, really strong sectors, but not necessarily with the high growth of the priority sectors. And they're things like financial services and retail. Construction, I think, as well, has come back very firmly on the agenda. One of the initiatives we took back in 2011 was to set up a construction skills centre, which was very, very successful, particularly in the Garrison area. And that's something I think for North Colchester we would like to revisit again. So I think just sort of by way of a wrap up, if you like, I think fair to say the economic growth strategy, the prospectus, sort of is a distillation of what we're trying to do. It's underpinned by some very strong evidence. I think the evidence not just come from the national sources like NOMIS and the RBDR, but it also comes from a number of business organisations such as Grant Thornton, who sort of, if you like, compare all locations around the country and feedback some very useful information for us to work on. The strategy as well will be very carefully monitored and measured and reported back. You may already subscribe to the quarterly economic report, which is now in its 20th edition. We now have well over 1,000 subscribers to that, so I know it gets wide circulation, if you like, and gives a really good snapshot of the state of the local economy, which I think is a useful thing for not just public sector businesses, but for private sector businesses as well. So I think with no more further from me, I will open that up to any questions.
Thank you very much for that very impressive presentation. I know Councillor Frame would like to make a few comments once colleagues have had the opportunity to return to their seats.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. One of the reasons we're able to produce the sort of strategy we've just done is with the work that's already been done in the previous one, which has helped to build and the confidence, as Mr. Myers has said, of the business community that we can actually deliver the targets we've got in the strategy, and it underpins obviously a lot of what happens in Colchester in terms of businesses operating, in terms of tourists, in terms of both the retail and the restaurant market. So a prosperous Colchester equals jobs, it equals apprenticeships, it equals investment in the town, and it's good for Colchester. And certainly I feel very confident that we are going to achieve the sort of things we put out in the strategy over the next five and a half years, which is it's due to run for. Mr. Myers has mentioned a couple of things that we're looking at in terms of making sure that we've got the infrastructure to develop, particularly in the healthcare and assisted living area, which is one of the major growth industries that's been identified. And certainly we're going to try and ensure that we get properly trained people to fulfil their potential in the work they do. So we'll be working with Tendering Council on that and trying to ensure that Colchester is known for its healthcare and assisted living industry, and also the creative and digital industries, which have been mentioned, are key to making sure that Colchester is at the forefront of any digital and creative work that's going on. So highly commended as far as I'm concerned. I hope Cabinet colleagues will also think that it's a good piece of work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Frame. I must admit, seeing that presentation and seeing the spectacular levels of growth that we were seeing, the number of economically active people up 15%, nearly 14,000 jobs created during the period of the last plan, a 25% increase in the number of self-employed, 100% occupancy of our business centres. I was really impressed with that. And when we see our performance in terms of growth, 51st out of 433 councils, just outside the top 10%, well into the top quartile performance. I'm very disappointed to hear the negative comments being made by the opposition here. If we were doing this well, producing this number of jobs, and we're still being criticised, 14,000 jobs, we're producing more jobs than we're producing in terms of houses for the population growth. We are helping other neighbouring boroughs and districts achieve their employment targets. I really think that there should be some recognition from the opposition about the solid achievements that we are doing in Colchester here and doing practical things to help businesses. Broadband, the hub to develop enterprise skills, the enterprise centres, all those things that are making a positive difference. Whereas the opposition wants tax breaks rather than practical benefits for the community. I think this strategy is absolutely right, that we're concentrating on delivering the things that the people of Colchester and the surrounding districts need. And you're absolutely right to address the skills issue. That does need tackling. But of course, the funding for skills isn't controlled by the Borough Council or indeed by the County Council. At the moment, it's controlled by government. And that's why Colchester will be signing up to process the devolution programme that Essex County Council are doing to see what offer we can get from the government to get control of those budgets under local control where we can spend them best. I don't know whether that's negotiations will be successful. I don't know whether we'll get a good deal or not that we'll be able to recommend. But I certainly think we should be at the table asking for it. And I do note that we as a council will be signing up for that. Councillor Corrie.
Thank you. I'm really encouraged by this report, and being quite new to the Cabinet, it's good to see the work coming together and the Council being a supporting body to business in Colchester, and that helps the whole economy as a wider social effect as well. I'm encouraged with my view on the resources portfolio because I look at business rates, which the collection is up. I look at the council tax, where people are paying more council tax than ever before. And also people are seeking benefits less than before as well. So that encourages me from the other point of view that in terms of collection rates and in terms of we do support our residents very well if they need benefits, but actually less people are needing benefits in Colchester. So that's a good thing. I also like to see the amount of apprenticeships that we're pushing forward, and we are leading on that because we have a number of apprenticeships across the council, across a number of different services, and I've heard anecdotal evidence about people in my service, in the benefits and revenue service, where they have been really helpful in pushing forward new ideas and giving services some new energy and new life. That's what we want from young apprenticeships and apprentices coming forward. I also am really interested in the construction skills hub. I think that will be a great step forward, and I really want to see that in practice happening as soon as possible. So I put my full weight behind that. So I'm encouraged from the collection end and encouraged by the inspiration and enterprise that's going on in this town.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, congratulations, Nigel. This is an excellent piece of work, and congratulations to your team. I'm very encouraged, like my colleagues around the table. I'm especially encouraged by the foundations that have been laid in the previous plan, as our leaders just set out. I can't claim any credit of that, obviously being a new cabinet member, but I think it's a testament to the previous good work that we've been doing. It gives us the credibility to put forward an ambitious and exciting strategy like this, and we can say, look, this is achievable. We're safe in the knowledge that this is achievable, and I think that is excellent. One of the highlights that I'd like to pick out as well was the broadband connectivity being included as a hard infrastructure. It absolutely is. I know that there are other councils around the country who haven't quite got up to date with that, but it absolutely is. We need to consider it, and I'm pleased that we are, and I'm pleased that we do, because that will certainly be a backbone of our success in the future.
Thank you very much. We are asked to refer to the Council for the adoption of this Cultural Economic Strategy 2015 to 2021 as part of the policy framework. Do we so agree? Thank you very much. I will now take item 2 on the agenda. The report that's been produced on the Friendship City relationship with the city of Yangzhou in the People's Republic of China. And I'm looking at Madam Mayor to make sure I'm getting my pronunciation right, and I'm sure I'm not, because I do know that she's been taking lessons in this. Colleagues, this is an opportunity and for us to strengthen the relationships, our economic relationships, with what is now the world's second largest economy, or at least it was when I looked at the news this afternoon. It may not, with the way their stock market is performing, perhaps be doing quite so well in the future, but I'm sure they will recover very well. There's some very interesting links with Yangzhou. It's a key tourist destination in China, one of their top economies for tourism. It's got some extremely valuable artefacts. The links, the cultural links with the museum service have been excellent. And I also note that actually, whilst they are 500 years older than us, in 1645, they suffered a siege. In 1648, we suffered a siege. We were both on the wrong side of a civil war. We both suffered quite a bit of damage as a result. They unfortunately suffered rather more than we did. However, I'm sure that the links that we can establish here can be extremely useful and extremely profitable. We've talked already in our economic strategy about the growth of tourism. What better than to link closely with a Chinese city that already has a strong reputation for tourism? I'm absolutely delighted that the Mayor has agreed to go as our representative to there, and will be actually, I believe, opening one of their exhibitions on tourism. So congratulations on that. I think you will do Colchester a great honour, and I would ask Cabinet to agree with this item. Madam Mayor, is there anything you wish to say on this point?
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Just to say that it is a great honour. The Mayor of Zhangzhou, as it's pronounced, came here last year, and the Mayor, Councillor Elliott, welcomed him to the Mayor's parlour and greeted him and looked after him very well. So having seen the programme, I think it's an exciting programme. There's a lot of tourist things to go and see, and it's going to be quite busy, so I look forward to representing the town there. Can I just add another little plea? This is totally separate to what you just said. Can I make sure that you all speak much closer to your microphones? Because where we're sitting back there, we can't hear much of what you're saying. Either the whole system needs being overhauled, or you need to speak a bit closer to your microphones, and that's under my tag of One Colchester Fair for All. We all ought to be able to hear. But no, as regards the Yangzhou project, I'm looking forward to going and representing the town.
Thank you very much. I'm absolutely horrified that some members of the audience may not have been hearing all the words of wisdom that I've been speaking this evening, even if they have been mispronounced. Colleagues, can I ask you to authorise the Mayor of Colchester to sign the Friendship City Relationship Agreement with the City of Yangzhou in the People's Republic of China? At least I got the second bit right. Agreed. Agreed. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is 8.1, implementing the Environmental Sustainability Strategy. I have Councillor Laws who wishes to speak on this item. Welcome.
I shall be brief. As I'm sure you're aware, us Conservatives are very proud of our green credentials. I myself cycled 3 miles to be here this evening. So I see no reason why we can't sign up to this, actually. It seems good, but I do wish to ask the administration to be sure to walk the walk and not just talk the talk on this, because past record doesn't necessarily suggest that your green credentials are as good as they could be. And I will just highlight a couple of those things and then explain something else I care about. We've had nearly half a year now since there's been a 40%, almost 40% reduction in the number of cycle parking racks on the high street, which I think needs urgent attention. We obviously, and it's quite some time ago, so we don't want to dig around too much of this, but we did have the instance where some of people thought it would be a good idea to rip up roses and shrubs in favour of grass, and thankfully we've moved on from that, and Colchester and Bloom do a fantastic job for us. When we're talking about walking the walk, though, I think we need to be cautious about the extent to which we do implement green initiatives, because, for example, within the Dutch Quarter, a conservation area, we saw the recent introduction of solar panels, and I think that we do need to be careful about that kind of thing, because the precedent's now been set that it's okay to put solar panels up in a conservation area, apparently, and I think that does need to be noted. But apart from that, happy to support signing up to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a fellow cyclist who's also been cycling to and from the station today, I not only walk the walk, but perhaps I may even cycle the cycle, if I can use that phrase. Right. Councillor? Sorry. Young, yes, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think we're all aware of the Conservative Party's green credentials, going from hugger husky to getting rid of the green crap. I think we all remember that from this most green of Prime Ministers. So we won't take any lessons from them on this. This comes out of signing up to the Nottingham Declaration, which we did some years ago, you may remember. And it always makes us think back, because the councillor who proposed our signature to that declaration was, of course, Steve Ford. And Steve was a great believer in environmental issues, and we still miss him greatly, I'm sure, from the council in general and certainly from the Labour group. But I see this as building on that legacy. And Climate Local is the LGA, the Local Government Association, pushing it, I think, quite rightly. Currently helping 102 local authorities across the UK to capture the opportunities of benefits of taking action on a changing climate, because some of us, I think all of us on the Cabinet, do believe that climate change is real and happening and is man-made. There are, I think, members or even leaders of opposition groups who think climate change is made up and doesn't have any basis in science. Well, we do. It sounded like Councillor Laws did. Perhaps they ought to have a discussion in their group about it. The council does not have a statutory responsibility to sign up to Climate Local, but if we do, I think it demonstrates our commitment in three ways. One is as a community leader, helping local people and businesses to be smarter about their energy use and to prepare for climate impacts. One is a service provider, delivering services that are resource efficient, less carbon intensive, resilient, and protect those who are most vulnerable to climate impacts. And as an estate manager, ensuring that our own buildings and operations are resource efficient, use clean energy, and are well prepared for the impacts of a changing climate. The environmental sustainability strategy we signed up to recently due to the great work of Wendy Bixby and other officers working across portfolios to come up with a really excellent strategy that's at the leading edge, and we're one of the top district councils in the country at this agenda, and I think we should be proud of that. I know we all believe that tackling climate change is very important for not only Colchester but for the planet. And so I think it's very important that we support these recommendations in front of us tonight, encourage Wendy and her team to carry on with the excellent work that they're doing so that we can continue to be at the leading edge of this agenda, which I know is supported right across the three administration groups. And we will do that. We will continue to be an environmentally friendly council. We will work with groups in Colchester that are helping us with that. We will encourage business, and I know Councillor Frame will be encouraging businesses to do the same, and therefore I would recommend that we sign up to Climate Local to prove our credentials and our credibility as one of the leading district councils in the country at this agenda.
Thank you very much. I do note that over the past few years, we're one of the councils that has achieved its target of reducing CO2 emissions. We've been able to do that partly by the use of solar energy on our buildings and indeed on our council housing stock, which is why I'm particularly saddened that this week the government has cut the subsidies for solar panels on our council properties. That's going to make continuing that scheme that meant that tenants in our properties were receiving a benefit of about £130 a year each. And we're not going to be able to do that anymore now because of action by the Conservative government. And of course, on estate management, we're also going to have difficulty on our housing stock, because I'm sure, as Councillor Bourne will confirm, the impact of the disastrous decisions in the budgets to reduce the amount of rents that can be charged is going to have a serious impact on the amount that we can invest in some of these same energy saving schemes in making our council housing stock and keeping it fit for purpose. And again, I think it's very unfortunate that the government has chosen to take those actions, which is going to force us into doing things that environmentally we would not wish to do. Can I ask you, Cabinet colleagues, to agree 1.1 to 1.4? Agreed. Thank I'll now move on to item 9.1, the arrangements for the tendering of the grounds maintenance contracts. This is something which would normally be in Councillor Felton's portfolio, but as she's on leave at the moment, I will be dealing with it. I would like to draw your attention, Cabinet colleagues, to some of the things that we're doing with our grounds maintenance contract. This time the contract is being split up into smaller parcels. This will enable local firms to perhaps bid for part of the contract, which is something which we are very keen on. Of course, it's also a contract that will fully endorse the living wage, something which this council is proud of and something which so few councils in Essex have done. I think it's very important that we do the tendering process in an open and transparent way, and something that ensures not just that we get something done at the very best price, but also with the best quality, and looking indeed at some of the environmental issues that we're dealing with here as well. So can I ask for your agreements to 1.1 and to delegate the awards of the grounds maintenance contract under 1.2? Thank you. Under 9.2, the centralisation of the CBC Events Management Service, I have Councillor Willits and Councillor Havis. As it's a report from the Trading Board, I will call Councillor Havis first and then Councillor Willits.
Thank you. At our meeting in August, the Trading Board were presented with a robust business case to show how bringing together a team to run all Colchester Borough Council's events, venues and open spaces would work. This team would sit within commercial services. It was unanimously agreed that this would allow Colchester Borough Council to fully exploit the financial and operational benefits of this new service and to provide an enhanced service for residents and visitors. Therefore, I'm here today to recommend to Cabinet that they approve the events management business case and make the necessary capital investment to get the new service operational from April 2016, which may, after the Mayor's visit, allow us to benefit even more with our Friendship City relationship with Yangzhou.
Sounds good to me, but thank you. Councillor Willits.
Leader, can I give my support to this particular proposal to rationalise event management? As I'm sure Cabinet is aware, we're in a process of transition from the Victorian model of local government to something much better. And I know the Cabinet is wedded to the old way of doing things, but the model based on outcomes and success rather than processes and departments is certainly the way to go in the future, and that is what we support in this report. Now, event management is a complex web of interactions which makes it so interesting, where one's got a multiplicity of sites, the Town Hall, Charter Hall, the Castle Park, and we might even add in First Sight, and the Arts Centre if it goes well, and we show ourselves as an expert in managing these sort of events. And the other axis of the matrix, we've got all the difficult operational issues associated with running events in those venues, the difficult problem of marketing, which is a specialist activity, and ticketing, as is outlined in the report. The worry is, of course, Leader, that local government tends to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. We do a bit of everything, and we do it reasonably well, but not perfect, because the very nature of local government covering such a wide and vast spectrum of activity. And I think when we look at event management, there are some national companies which do this, and when you look at what they do, how they do it, the sort of skills they have. It is indeed complex, and the people they recruit and have working for them are experts in their subject. And if we are to do that, we again need to reorganise so that we're able to build on our own teams, bring in additional expertise, and make sure that the service we provide to the taxpayers is absolutely excellent, just what they want. So the objective of arm's lengthening this activity so as it will encourage specialism and perhaps take it away from the day-to-day clout of the local government apparatus is certainly to be welcomed. The opportunity to pool departmental budgets, the economies of scale which we get from running these activities as a central pool, the right skills, focus management, if they are achieved as the business case sets out, will certainly lead to a formidable organisation able to deliver the goods as we wish and as is set out in the yellow pages. And of course, it is the right way to go, because having set up this type of organisation, it will want to be free of local government control. It will want to sort of reward its people in a way which is particular to their business operation. So, of course, it will be an excellent candidate for a commissioning authority to consider launching onto the free market, so that we get all the benefits of putting this together as a package and getting it up and running. So all for it, Leader. I hope it goes well, and we look forward to seeing this as a self-standing company providing an excellent service to the people of Colchester by managing those favourite venues that we all love so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was interested in your comments about Victorian values, because I thought from your last speech at full council you were a great supporter of some Victorian values, particularly in the labour markets, but never mind. I think the key point that what we're doing as a council is that, yes, we are giving our organisations commercial freedoms, but we're ensuring that the profits from those go to the taxpayers of Colchester rather than the shareholders of a limited company. And our record on achieving this on the various items that we've done through the service reviews at the moment is actually extremely good. And that's one of the reasons why this council's financial position is so much better than some other councils nearby that have not gone down this rigorous route. Had we outsourced everything from day one, we might have made a saving in year one, but there'd been no savings in years 2, 3, 4 and 5. Under this process, where we're keeping the profits in-house, we continue to make the profits, not just in year one, but the increased profits in years 2, 3, 4 and 5 as well. So I think we're getting the best of both worlds with what we're doing here, and I would certainly like to record my thanks to all the members of the Trading Board who have taken this in a cross-party manner and have looked thoroughly at the proposals and have come up with some excellent suggestions. And I fully recommend them to you that we agree with the decisions in 1.1. Do you so agree? Thank you. The next item is the year-end performance report and strategic management. I have two councillors wishing to speak on this. Councillors Lissamore and Councillor Davis. Councillor Davis, as it's a report from your panel, I would like to give you the opportunity to speak first.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that, much appreciated. Yes, we did look at the strategic plan, action plan, and the progress, and it was ultimately quite favourable. However, there is one item that really stands out, and it's something that we just, or rather you, unfortunately, just haven't cracked yet, and this is the sickness rates. This is on page 55, and the sickness rates are even higher than they were last year. Now, Unfortunately, the 8.84 days, sickness days, just doesn't fit with the alleged increase in staff morale, which has been alluded to in the staff survey. We haven't yet scrutinised the staff survey. That was due to come to us a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately we just ran out of time because the scrutiny agendas have been so full. And in order to do a good piece of scrutiny, we decided to actually move that to a different meeting. It is of utmost importance that sufficient time is given to scrutinise these important areas, and I think staff sickness is one of those. The staff sickness rates impact on every aspect of the council's work with residents, and it really is of the utmost importance that issue is addressed. I think we need to be aware of mindfulness. It's not just physical illness. It's a total overall wellness of our staff members. Maybe you could even keep a watch on the recent NHS initiatives. There may well be something in that, but it's something that's worth looking at. And I just really want to get this one cracked because it does impact on everything that we do as a council. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Councillor Lissimore.
Thank you very much. I wanted to concentrate, please, on page 55 with the refuse and recycling figures. Congratulations on keeping the non-collections so low. However, I would like to make a suggestion that we need a new KPI to meet residents' expectations on how many recycling collections are actually missed rather than general collections. Now, I don't know if you're the same, but when I speak to residents who don't recycle, the main reason they don't recycle is because they've put recycling outside their house and it's not been collected and they've not been told why. Now, they are supposed to have a note put on it, but 9 times out of 10 they don't. And when I mentioned this earlier, one of our new councillors didn't even know that they're supposed to have a note on it. That is a big problem in this borough. If a resident does not know why their recycling has not been collected, then they will not learn, we will not be educating them, and we will not increase our recycling rates. All the time we talk here about education, about residents learning what can be recycled and what can't, and how we can recycle more. We need to educate them, but we need the onus to be more on the council rather than the onus all of the time always being on the resident, that it's the resident that's done it wrong. If the council can be a little bit more flexible, if the council can be a little bit more understanding, then I believe our recycling rates will go up. I'd like to also mention about the public consultation on waste, which has not gone ahead in the format that was put forward to the Waste Task and Finish group. We were told, and it was agreed at the Waste Task and Finish group, that a survey would be put forward to hand-picked people on the borough, but that it was also be included on the Colchester Borough Council's website so that everyone would have the opportunity to fill that in. That has not happened, and I'm very disappointed, and it is not what we agreed to at the Waste Task and Finish group. We have a diverse borough, we have diverse housing, and we need diverse collection methods for both recycling and black bin waste. If the survey does not encompass all, then it is worthless. Please can you ensure that that survey will be made available online, as was promised at the Task and Finish group, and that as many residents as possible will be given the chance to have their say on how their black bin bags and recycling will be collected in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. I've got Councillor Graham and Councillor Corrie on that one.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Lissimore. I just wanted to address a couple of those points directly, if you don't mind. You were complaining that the consultation in relation to dealing with our waste has not gone ahead in the format as agreed. That's not correct. The timescale is not as previously agreed. The format is remaining the same. Unfortunately, you were not at the last task and finish group. Your leader, Councillor Willits, was there. Would have hoped that he would have passed on the contents of the discussion, but obviously he hasn't. And I understand there is a task and finish group meeting tomorrow night where the new timetable will be discussed. So hopefully if you are able to attend, and I hope that you are, then perhaps you'll be brought up to speed with the work that your group, because it is a cross-party group, is going ahead with. The 0.032% of missed collections is a fantastic figure, frankly. It's the only service that we've got in the council where we deal directly, face-to-face, with every single resident of the borough. 0.032%, it bears repeating. Now that tiny figure, 0.032%, includes all of those recycling collections that Councillor Lismore mentions are being missed. We do our best. We have a fantastic amount of staff and fantastic performing staff in that service, and I've found it very difficult to give them very much reduced targets, as you can see in the 15, 16 targets as they're coming through. So I find it a bit odd, frankly, that Councillor Lismore is criticising that 0.032%. She is part of the task and finish group, which is dealing with looking at how to deal with waste, which will include how we're taking it from the curbside and onwards. I welcome her input. I welcome Councillor Willits' input. It is a cross-party group because it is a cross-party well, it's a cross-party group because it's such an important part of what we do as the council, and I think that our performance and our staff's performance and the officers' performance deserves great credit for what they've been doing.
Thank you very much. Councillor Corrie and then Councillor Young.
Thank you, Leader. I wanted to respond to Councillor Davis coming forward as Chair of Scrutiny and thank her for coming to speak on a number of matters, but I was saddened the other day that we didn't get time to talk about the staff survey, which I was there to speak on, which is positive news. And I do understand her concern with the indicator that is red to do with staff sickness. I do believe we are turning a corner. I do think there's a bit of a lag in terms of that indicator. I do think that indicator will not be red next year. I think it will be much better. There's two reasons for that. As you said, the staff survey that we will look at hopefully soon, the morale is up in the council. The council officers do feel that they're listened to more. There may still be a disconnect between councillors and staff, which I think we will be tackling this year, and I'm already discussing with officers how I can help in that role as a portfolio holder for resources and staff. And we are seeing increased figures with staff feeling like they are taking part in change that occurs within the council. So I do think that that red indicator will be turned around. The other reason I think it will be turned around is we are tackling some of the real extreme incidents of sickness. We have an average indicator, so that does take in the high levels of sickness as well. And we've had some real extreme cases that have been tackled, and those particular people have been dealt with and have been taken out of the council where their cases of sickness are extreme to the level that we can prove that that is too much an abuse of the council system. So I do think we are turning the corner, and I would hopefully see a green indicator next year with the morale of the council up and the sickness of the council down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Young.
Yeah, I just want to contrast the two contributions we've had from the Conservative members, really. Councillor Davis is well within her rights to highlight the sickness rate. We didn't meet the target, but as Councillor Corrie has just said, we are taking a tougher line. There has been some dismissals because of sickness, persistent sickness. I think you've got to always draw a distinction between long-term sick and short-term sickness, and that is what the officers are doing. They take a firm but fair treatment of it, and I think we're getting it absolutely right, and I look forward to the improvement in the rates as well. But I'm glad to see Councillor Davis's concern for our staff, and that morale will go with the sickness rate, and I think that's probably right, and I think we are turning a corner, as Councillor Corrie has said. But then we move on to Councillor Lismore and the recycling collections and the household waste. And it seems to be the fault of the operatives and not the residents that are recycling rate. Let me read you what she's tweeted tonight. Why has recycling fees dropped again? Why is onus still on residents, not the bin men, to get it right? Now, on the one hand, you seem to be, Councillor Davis, supporting the staff. Our refuse collection service is one of the best in the country. And I know Councillor Oxford has said on many times that our operatives go out in all weathers when other operatives who have got an outsourced privatised service don't bother going out, and they collect the waste, whether it's frost, snow, ice, in all conditions, and they go out there and go that extra mile. They are not to blame for the recycling rates. The Task and Finish group, and now Councillor Graham, will look at the consultation and we will take action to get our recycling rates up. And we might have to make some tough decisions, and we will consult right across the council. I think Councillor Graham's absolutely right, because this is the most important service. What people across the country expect councils to do, first and foremost, is collect the rubbish. And we do it very, very well, as these figures show. So to even, and you know, I know it's hard to put the stuff in 140 characters, but that is what is on Twitter and out there for her 400 or whatever followers to look at tonight. And what will people think? People will think that the Conservatives are having a go at our refuse collectors. Our refuse collectors will read that and think they're being criticised by a councillor. I think that's unfair. I've been out, as has Councillor Bourne, and I'm sure Councillor Graham, if he gets the chance, will do so, on a round. It is a back-breaking job. We couldn't have done it more than once.
Nice weather.
It was nice weather, and I think we had out of a week to recover. They do a fantastic job, and so I would hope that Councillor Lissimore would think about that tweet and perhaps retweet something supportive of our excellent refuse collection staff, who are doing a great job in difficult circumstances. And I've got confidence in this administration and in Councillor Graham to get that strategy right, so that we get going forward. We know the status quo is probably unaffordable, the way we collect the rubbish at the moment, because I don't think any other council does it like it at the moment. So we're going to have to make tough decisions, but we need to get that consultation right, and for it to be paused. I know Councillor Graham has spoken to the chair of the Task and Finish group about it, and we all need to work together on this to get it right. So, you know, let's have some consistency, and let's not attack the staff who aren't here to defend themselves. By all means, attack us. We can take it. We can robustly defend what we're doing, but don't attack the staff. It's not fair, because they're out there doing a great job in difficult conditions all the time of the year.
Thank you much, Councillor Young. I think I'd just draw a little connection between what we're seeing. We've talked about staff morale, and we've talked about some of the comments that the opposition have made here and in previous literature. I think we know the stuff they put out in the last election, the election before, about pen pushers and golden-plated pensions and what have you, and the reactions that we've had from some of their councillors in the council chamber. Yeah, that does not help staff morale. And I do think that we see two faces here of the opposition. I would agree with you that I think Councillor Davis's efforts on scrutiny are to be commended in getting a proper job done, and that is a fair hearing, and we are quite rightly criticised where we do not achieve some targets, and it is done in a fair and robust manner. So I would praise her for that. I would ask Cabinet to agree the points set out in actions required number 1. Agreed? Agreed. Thank you. The next item is 10.2, our new strategic action plan. We have no councillors wishing to speak on this one, so I will open it up to the Cabinet for any comments that we have to make on the new strategic action plan. Excellent.
We commend it, Leader.
I think so. I do note we have 2 1.2s in this action plan. So I will ask us to approve 1.1, 1.2 and the other 1.2. All those in favour? Agreed. Thank you. Item 11.1, the Local Government Ombudsman Annual Review. Councillor Hazel, you wish to speak on this matter? Please join us.
Thank you, Leader. Good evening, Cabinet. I would like to take issue on Councillor Smith's comments on Conservative literature of a year ago, especially given the Liberal Democrat literature that is out in Dedham at the moment. But let us let that pass. I would like to register my surprise that complaints against customer services to the local government ombudsman have increased by a third. Yes, 30 from 22 is not a huge number, 30 complaints against the number of customer face-to-face. But customer service is the face of the council to the public. And it is most important, it's the heart of our council and the way we deal with our residents. Each complaint is a serious issue, and each one needs to be taken very seriously. The local government ombudsman has registered the seriousness that these complaints will be put to serious scrutiny. And I trust that over the coming year that will indeed take place, because however small a number, it is increasing, and that is something that we do not want to see. So I look forward to the fact that scrutiny of these complaints will take place, and I will be meeting with customer services next week, where I'm sure I will be given more information. But I do commend the local ombudsman's assertions that we deal with this extremely seriously. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Oxford.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad, actually, that we do have a local government ombudsman, because we're quite often accused of being obscure, you can't be contacted, you do what you like and there's nothing I can do or say about it. This gives every resident and every customer the chance to hold us to account. So although you don't really want complaints, you should be happy to take complaints as they are and do what you can to rectify them, because we deal with people who have expectations sometimes that we can fulfil, sometimes we can't. And it's when we can't fulfil things that we get complaints made against us. Looking on page 84, there was only one that was actually upheld by the local government ombudsman, but then it wasn't considered that bad, because we had already notified regarding respective planning applications of what the outcome to the application would be. So although he upheld the fact that we may have caused injustice to the complainant, the injustice was not as bad as perhaps it could have been. I do take customer complaints extremely seriously. That's why I like being customer portfolio holder. But I do think that when you are dealing with people, sometimes you have to say, well, yes, I've done everything I possibly can do, and as long as we have, but if you still feel that we haven't, this is your chance and this is your opportunity to go to somebody else to see if they agree with you or they agree with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oxford. I think you make a very valid point that of the 30 items referred to the Ombudsman, one was upheld. One is too many, but nevertheless the percentage is just about 3%. It's not anywhere near as low as the percentage that Councillor Graham was having for missed waste collections, but even so, I think it is a very commendable performance there. And I think it shows that we are doing the right thing. And it's absolutely right that there should be this safeguard for someone to be able to go to and look at what the council's done and say, have you done a good enough job on this complaint? And in 29 out of the 30 cases that have come up there, the answer's been, we're not going to uphold the complaint. So I think there's a commendable performance. Do we note this report? Yeah. Thank you. The next item is the progress on the response to amendments to the public. I ask Cabinet to note that. Thank you. Councillor Frame, you have a proposal.
I do. In accordance with the section 100A of the Local Government Act, in accordance with the local authorities, etc., etc., I move to exclude the public, including the press, from the meeting so that any items containing exempt information in Part B of the agenda can be decided.
Thank you very much.